Hello, and you're listening to The Book Was Better, the podcast where we talk about the book of the film. I'm Luke.
I'm Zach.
And this week we're talking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Hey you, put down the popcorn and turn on the light. It's gonna be alright, my friend. In the end, take my hand and trust me, the book was better.
Alright, so good to have you back, Zach. Are you ready to Roger this rabbit?
Yes, I'm always ready to Roger this rabbit.
I'm surprised that didn't become a catchphrase.
I know. I'm sure it became a catchphrase for many teenage boys.
And, you know, just in the interest of potentially saving some time here, I think really the first question I want to ask you is...
Yes, I would have sex with Jessica Rabbit.
I think that's probably going to be like 90% of our conversation. But no, just in case, like, we can skip the whole thing. Was it you? Did you frame Roger Rabbit?
Not in this instance. I have with other crimes.
What if, I mean, he was very popular at the time when this movie came out. Now, this was 1989?
88.
So I was 12.
I was still in my dad.
You were still a twinkle. But let's say when you discovered this film and you really enjoyed it, someone gave you a really nice lithograph print, you know, cell painting kind of thing of Roger Rabbit. Would you consider framing that?
I would.
Yeah.
Just for novelty reasons.
So you have potential to frame Roger Rabbit, but in this instance, you did not.
No.
Okay. That's all right. I was thinking, like, if you did it, like, why bother talking about it for an hour? Let's just come out and say it.
Yeah.
For the record, it's fair. I didn't either.
I'm glad.
I had nothing to do with that. But I did love this movie. I really, really loved this movie. When it came out at 12 years old, I thought this was just an awakening in many different ways.
Yeah. I remember when I first saw it. Because I saw it just after Space Jam.
Yeah, right.
Because I was like...
Like, they can do that now. Yeah.
And then my dad was like, you should watch Roger Rabbit. And then it was more real people with cartoons.
And it's infinitely superior to Space Jam as well. And did you then round out the trilogy with Brad Pitt's Cool World?
I have not seen Cool World.
Okay.
I always look at it at the video store.
See, that's the thing. I remember, again, seeing that cover at the video store and you're just like, how can I not pick this up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially
it looks
back
cool.
then.
He's got that big suit on.
That's what that song's about, that Cool World song. It's about that film.
I thought the song Mad World, was about Brad Pitt in that movie.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think It's a Small World as well. You know that song in Disneyland?
Yeah.
That's about that because it's got world in the title. I remember this book because, this book is not a junior novelization. Normally when it's a Disney film, it's a junior, but not in this case. This is for bona fide adults. And the reason I remember it is always a big reader as a kid. I mean, this was before the internet. And I stayed with my grandparents a lot. And I remember going into a newsagent and seeing this very book. Not this exact copy, but this particular book. And I was just so excited. It was before the movie had come out. And I ran to my grandmother and I said, they've got the Roger Rabbit book. Oh my God, like it's at the newsagent. Which is kind of hoping that she would flick me the money. I was a very spoiled only child at that point. Would flick me the money and I'd get to go and get it. And she said, and I remember this, she said, oh, you know, one day you're going to grow up.
That's harsh.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. And the reason I remember it is because my grandmother was, like I said, only child at this point. Only grandchild. Very, very indulgent. Like, I could do nothing wrong. I could be, like, covered in the blood of a prostitute, and it would be endearing.
Like most 12-year-olds.
Yeah, would offer me a mince pie.
Delicious.
A Yorkshire pudding or something like that, because my grandma liked to cook. And I remember going, like, just so taken aback. And I was like, no, but like it's a real book. It's not like a kid's book. It's a proper book. It's a novel. And she was like, how much is it? And gave me the money. Went and got it. And I actually read it cover to cover that night. And I think it was actually the night before I saw it at the cinema. So I used to do that as a kid. I would read the book and then go and see the movie. Like knowing everything that happened.
I did that with I Am Legend.
Was it the book of the film or was it the...
I read the proper book.
Yeah.
Before I saw the film.
Which is Richard Matheson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best book in the world.
I might have to check that out. I've flipped through the comic adaptation of the original book, but
Basically a real book.
and no one get excited because we cannot do, you know the rules of this. We cannot do that original book on this show. We would have to do the adaptation of the Will Smith movie. So this Roger Rabbit that I hold here in my hands is definitely the novelization of the film. It's not the original book Who Censored Roger Rabbit, which was by Gary K. Wolfe, which I've never read. I've never even seen. But I did read about it on Wikipedia. Have you heard anything about that thing?
I didn't even know it was a book before it was a movie.
Yeah, so the movie's based on a book called Who Censored Roger Rabbit. And in the book, Roger Rabbit is an everybody, newspaper strip stars. They're not in cartoons. And when they talk, speech bubbles appear over their heads and people photograph them. And that's how you have newspaper strips. And it's got Dick Tracy and Snoopy and stuff in it.
That's kind of cool.
And Roger Rabbit gets murdered, and the speech bubble of the last thing he said is like one of Eddie Valiant's clues. But these cartoon strip characters are able to make short-lived duplicates of themselves, which do risky stunts in their strips. So Roger, just before being murdered, made a duplicate of himself, and that duplicate goes and has to help Eddie solve the case. But the duplicate is going to crumble into dust within a certain time period because it's just this stunt version of Roger Rabbit. And apparently Baby Herman's in it and Jessica Rabbit, but it's all quite different.
It's way darker.
Yeah, and no Judge Doom or whatever. And apparently he wrote a sequel too after the movie to kind of make the characters more like the originals and more like the film. And he kind of retconned the first book into making it a dream that Jessica Rabbit has. But apparently in like one of the books, like in the sequel book, which I think is called Who Plugged Roger Rabbit, Baby Herman gets murdered and all sorts of crazy stuff happens.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So there you go. But this is the novelization of the Robert Zemeckis film, produced by Touchstone Pictures and Steven Spielberg.
Spielberg.
Amblin Entertainment, what did I say?
You know what's good if...
Spielberg, yeah.
Not Spielberg. If Touchstone are involved.
Touchstone.
I have no idea who Touchstone are.
They're a cultural touchstone for pictures.
Huh.
Sort of pictures that you would frame, not that I'm suggesting
I heard that their
anything.
office is like, it's a big rock, and they send a writer in, and he touches it, and then he comes out with an idea.
Well, it's the rock that Indiana Jones had to negotiate. So Spielberg was like, we can use this in this film I'm doing called Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So this novel is by Martin Noble, and he's the author of other novelizations such as Tin Men, Ruthless People, Automan. Do you know the Automan TV series from like the 80s?
No, but I'm intrigued.
He was
just
like
by the name.
Computer dude. He sort of wore like I feel like he wore like a kind of Tron suit. But he came out of the computer and he was in the real world, and he had a little like friend who was just called Cursor, who was just a little like glowing dot, and he would drive a car and he could drive it at right angles on corners. He would just like go whoom, straight around. I think they did a modern, or tried to do a modern redo or something at some point, but it never really happened.
It's probably for good reason.
A movie that I'd completely forgotten about, Bloodbath at the House of Death. Have you heard of that?
No.
That's a Kenny Everett film. It's like a sort of horror comedy from, again, I think like early 80s or late 70s or something like that.
It sounds kind of amazing.
I'll have to look that up. And finally, Ewan McGregor, the unofficial biography.
It's a book I would read.
Feels like an unofficial biography. Feels like you could just kind of stalk in the guy.
Yeah, I feel like you could not actually write a book about Ewan McGregor.
Not officially.
Yeah. Like, that book could be about me.
I just feel like it was written in the bushes outside Ewan McGregor's house, because otherwise it would be official, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, that makes sense.
And it's kind of weird to do all these novelizations and then just do this, like, unofficial... I think he must really like Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, probably. He probably wasn't even paid to do it.
Probably saw Attack of the Clones and was like, this guy I like.
Yeah. There's a lot of paragraphs written through windows.
That's observed through the window. Yeah, the whole book is... the cover looks like a window, and you just kind of look through it. It's got a transparent section in, and you just read all about Ewan. It's completely unedited, uncensored,
a lot of descriptions about trees as well.
Yeah.
like how to climb them, where to sit.
Which bushes are the best on your skin if you can sit in them for an extended period of time. Yeah, so I recommend that one. And there's lots of great reviews at the beginning of this book, lots of review quotes, like a complex, beautiful work of art. Unfortunately, you're not talking about the book. They are talking about the movie, but, we're halfway there.
Yeah.
And I was curious about this one because, especially, I feel like this is sharing the DNA with another animation live-action mix, which would be Enchanted.
Oh, yeah.
Which we talked about last week with your partner, Paris.
Yes.
And I said with that book, it did a really bad job at setting up that there was a cartoon world and a real world. So everyone in the cartoon world you were picturing as real people doing real things, and it was like, this is weird. Like, who would do this stuff? So it's really interesting to see how this guy is going to tackle in a novelization which is aimed more at adults, how he's going to set up this premise, which is a brilliant premise. Like, once they realized, oh, this is the premise and we're going to make this film, like, it's wonderful because it's so visual. But, yeah, how do you get that across using, like, a bunch of dumb words?
I feel like not very well. Like,
Yeah.
that would be the answer.
We shall see. People aren't massive fans of this, and it is pretty much like A to Z through the film, but I don't know if it's the nostalgia because I remember lines from this or whatever, but I think he does a pretty good job, but we shall see. So, let's read the beginning. It's cartoon time.
Hi, folks. Grab hold of your popcorn, tighten your seatbelts, and settle down. We're off on another side-splitting, rip-roaring ride with everyone's favorite cartoon caperers.
But just a word of caution, when you see that famous circular logo,
RK Maroon presents...
a maroon cartoon.
You'd better make sure your heart's in a good condition, because otherwise, we're gonna kill you. With laughter. And this cinema will not, positively not, accept liability in cases of death by tunes.
Seriously, folks, but let's face it, who can be serious when tunes are around?
It's those maestros of movie magic and mirth. The one and only zany king of clowns, carrots, klutz, corn, and comedy. Roger Rabbit and his cartoon pal, Toontown's smallest but sweetest star, Baby Herman. Back together again in what director Raul J. Raul promises to be their funniest yet.
Okay, we get it, Martin Noble. Let's not oversell it too much in case it doesn't deliver. So, interesting narrative here at the beginning.
Yeah.
Who is telling this story?
It is hard to tell.
Because it says this cinema will positively not accept liability in cases of death. So, is this like a teenager that works at the cinema who is telling the story of Roger Rabbit?
He wipes away the, like, greasy hair from his brow.
Is he leaning on a broom? He's got a garbage bag full of popcorn in one hand. And, but that would be weird, wouldn't it? Like, if you went and saw a film, and then the guy that works there comes out at the beginning, and he tells you the entire story over about a 2-hour period.
It wouldn't be the story that annoyed me. It would be the threat of death that he immediately begins with.
Yeah, and they're not willing to like, any recompense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, like, they're not even willing to stop it.
No.
They're just like, you might die.
Yeah, we've got a very dangerous
room.
film here, and it's on you, pal. Noble now has the task of writing about the cartoon, the short Something's Cooking, that opens the film. So this is him navigating the cartoon world.
Roger Rabbit is counting on his fingers. Or my 9th cousin, who is 9th times removed from his place outside. To illustrate his genealogical lecture, our funny bunny is swinging his arms, first outwards to indicate the wonderful miracle of rabbit procreation, and then inward to relocate himself at the center of this rapidly growing family tree, and gets all his arms tangled up.
Rabbits sure do love to fuck.
Yes, they do.
Roger Rabbit thrusting at the air, but you can see with the choice of words here already. I mean, this isn't aimed at kids. This is getting inside the head of this crazy cartoon. And Baby Herman, he's trekking across the kitchen in search of a cookie, and Roger basically gets horrifically injured many times while chasing him. And again, you were saying, I don't know if this is going to be that great. I actually genuinely love the fact that Martin Noble chose to personify a bottle of chili sauce. Dad already puts him up there with some of my favourite authors, like Tom Robbins, who personified a can of beans. I mean, this is amazing. The last of the pots and pans slid off the broken shelf to reveal a bottle marked chili sauce, extra hot. For a few moments, the bottle hesitates, balancing precariously on the edge of the shelf. Maybe it's wondering whether this isn't just a little bit over the top, even for a Roger Rabbit and Baby Herman cartoon. Then, almost with a sigh, it gives in and goes over the top, planting itself squarely on the spout of the teapot, which starts to turn bright red as Roger Rabbit gulps down the sauce. We've had novelizationists take us into the heads of cats. Never a bottle of chili sauce.
No,
before.
I didn't think there was much in a bottle of chili sauce. But how wrong I was.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have any dialogue. And not really, like, any internal monologue. But I think that's classic padding. Like, something about novelizations of old, certainly in the beginning of this show when we started to first look at novelizations, you realize a lot of minor characters get backstories and thought processes and all that sort of stuff. So why not the props?
Yeah.
An animated bottle of chili sauce. And, of course, this happens.
The ironing board falls open to reveal Roger Rabbit, wonder of wonders, standing on it, as fresh as a daisy. That's the magic of movies. But let us not forget the knives, which are even now en route to their target. Nor the plunger tumbling through the air. It is bumped into a toaster. "I'm here, babe," he begins, and then screams as the armada of knives home in on their target, namely Roger Rabbit, pinning him to the wall. One particular brutal-looking butcher's knife barely misses his groin.
Very close one there. So I think he does a really good job at selling the cartoon chaos. In fact, I think he probably approaches the beginning of this book with more enthusiasm than he does even the rest of it. I think he really sells this idea of the cartoon. And this feels like an animated world. This isn't like Enchanted, where you're like, why are all these people just so nuts? Like, this is the kind of chaos that's relatable, and you go, yeah, this is a cartoon, I get it.
I can relate to it.
You can relate, yeah.
Just this morning, an armada of knives.
I like the phrase armada
Coming
of
at my
knives.
face. It's pretty cool.
Did your eyes bug out as one hit your groin, just underneath your groin?
Nearly missed.
Yeah, always does. Roger stuffs up the take, though, by producing tweeting birds around his head, which is being hit by a fridge. And he was supposed to produce stars. So it turns out that we are actually behind the scenes while this cartoon is shooting. So if the cartoon is still being made, why was the guy from the cinema talking to us about the cartoon that we were about to see?
That is a very interesting point.
Because it doesn't even have an ending yet.
Maybe he moonlights at the cinema, and then later at night, male prostitute. But then during the day, he works on the studio set.
So we've already decided that it's a pretty raw deal when the 15-year-old with the broom comes out in the garbage bag and tells you the entire story of the film. But it's even worse when he gets to the end of that story and goes, "Oh, yeah, this movie's not out for another year." Yeah.
He's like, "I know this because I'm working on it."
Yeah. And he says no refunds, and then he just runs out that exit up the back that no one ever goes through.
And he murders people in the cinema on the way out.
Yes.
That's what the warning was about.
That was
very cryptic.
That does happen in the US. And it turns out, speaking of monsters, the real Baby Herman, he is a monster.
Wasting no time, the director slapped the startled tune across his head, while Baby Herman stood up, put his hands on his hips, and yelled angrily at the director in a deep, rasping voice, the voice of a seasoned adult actor who habitually smokes cigars between bottle feeds.
He also looks up the script girl's skirt as well.
Yeah.
He is a villain.
When that happens in the movie, his entire face changes to like his teeth get sharp, his eyes get pointy. It's like this devil.
A predator.
Devil baby face.
I kind of want to see Baby Herman get the Enchanted treatment where Danny DeVito crawls out of a sewer in a nappy, with a cigar, and just starts being the character in live action. I think that would be astounding.
Just screaming at people and looking up women's dresses.
Well, wouldn't you love to just push Danny DeVito around in a pram for a day?
Yeah, I really would.
It sounds like a prank show.
Yeah, and I think he'd be into it as well.
Especially these days.
Yeah.
I reckon, what have you got to lose?
I mean, he's probably done it on It's Always Sunny.
Probably. Yeah.
I know he's worn nothing but a nappy in that show.
And watching this whole mess unfolding is our other lead character, drunken detective Eddie Valiant. Raoul may not have been watching, but there was someone else who was, with obvious distaste. A short, stocky man wearing a striped shirt, a crumpled suit with double-breasted jacket and dark brown fedora hat. He had the kind of face with dark, burning eyes that would have made him perfect casting for the role of a small-time gangster in those pre-war Hollywood gangster movies of the 30s, a hitman for Bogart, Cagney, or Raft. But the world and Hollywood had moved on from the golden era of the 30s. This was Hollywood 1947. All the old-time gangsters were long gone. All around the world, life was returning to normal after the biggest global war in history, and Hollywood had the perfect antidote. Tombs. Nice setup here. It's not just bloody ironing boards and plungers and stuff. It's history.
Yeah, you
right
feel
here.
it.
Yeah. And hard-drinking Eddie fucking hates tunes. And I just thought, shit, this is like 1947, dude. You're pretty much in the golden age. Wait till you get to the 80s. Like, I remember seeing, I think it was called Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue, and it was like a drug special, like anti-drugs. And it was like a team-up with Garfield and Michelangelo and Alf and Winnie the Pooh. So, you know, like, things were about to get a whole lot worse.
I wonder what he'd be like now.
Well, Eddie Valiant.
Yeah, with, like, Adventure Time and stuff.
He'd be very confused, I think.
Because obviously, like, every cartoon character exists in his world.
Do you think... Yeah. I'm very curious as to why and how they exist, but we're going to get there soon. But I was just going to say, like, oh, yeah, you know, Adventure Time, that'd be really confusing, and that would be really, like, way out there. But I think that there's this sort of unbridled chaos of that, like, early Looney Tunes stuff, which is almost a kind of cruel, crazy, violent chaos that it's actually probably a lot scarier than modern cartoons.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because even, like, I mean, like, Ren from Ren and Stimpy's kind of scary, but he's also pretty benign.
Yeah.
Like, you could kick him pretty far. But, yeah, I don't know about some of these other guys. And this is what I like about Martin Noble's writing here. He doesn't show the tunes as being just a wacky, fun, frivolous thing. It's actually almost a kind of sinister, eerie thing at times. But, yeah, we're gonna get there. We're in first person again.
As for tunes, well, a tune killed my brother. Now all that was left of him was half a nameplate, Valiant and Valiant, private detectives.
So is this still the cinema guy? Did Eddie Valiant work in the cinema? I'm confused.
It does kind of jump around a little bit.
Too many cooks, and by cooks, I mean narrators. What do you think of Bob Hoskins in this role?
I think it's the role Bob Hoskins was born to play.
It's his most memorable, I think.
He did Super Mario as well.
He did, yeah. But I think this was a lot better. Do you know that, did you see that on the trivia about Bill Murray?
No.
They wanted Bill Murray to do it, and no one could get hold of him. Because he's very,
They probably didn't have the 1-800 hotline.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He's got the 1-800 number so that you have to call him and pay money, and he'll decide. But apparently, the director talked about it in an interview, how they wanted Bill Murray, they wanted to offer it to him. And Bill Murray read the interview, and he was in this public place, and he just started, like, yelling, because he was like, I would have done that in a heartbeat. Like, I really would have loved to have done that film. It was something that appealed to him.
He brought this on himself, though.
Do you reckon that's why he did Space Jam? It was kind of like the booby prize.
Yeah. He's like, I couldn't frame Roger Rabbit, so now I'm going to play basketball with Bugs Bunny. Second best option.
Yeah, it kind of is, I suppose. He wouldn't have been a great Giselle in Enchanted.
No.
No.
He could have been in that Looney Tunes one with Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser will just do anything, won't he?
Yeah, I mean, that guy's...
He doesn't know the word no at all. Kind of like Bill Cosby in that regard. Always got to throw in a Bill Cosby one. But yeah, imagine that. Like, Giselle goes through the sewer, comes out, looks like Bill Murray, which is a little bit more New York looking.
Yeah.
And then Patrick Dempsey's like seeing him on the couch in the dress and the light shining and it's just hitting all the pock marks and he's like, it's like the beautiful surface of the moon. And he's like running sticking his fingers in the pock marks on Bill Murray's cheeks and just like wisps of hair and stuff, and it's
I'd be
so romantic.
Be happy with that.
Who wouldn't be? You see, me and Teddy, my brother, we'd somehow got ourselves a reputation around Hollywood for helping toons out of scrapes. It all started when we got Goofy out of a spy rap. And I probably didn't stop there. I reckon like Donald Duck off the indecent exposure charge.
He's running around without pants
A lot of the time, yeah. Pepe Le Pew, he helped acquit him of all those rapes.
He does seem like the one Looney Tune who would go that far.
They haven't done much with him recently, have they?
They probably realised that he's a rapist.
That he's a rapist, yeah. Yeah, not cool. Not cool, Pepe. French. So Valiant is called into the office of Maroon, owner of Maroon Cartoons, and Maroon basically believes Roger's stuffing up all the time. He's costing the studio money because his wife, Jessica Rabbit, is having an affair, and he wants juicy pictures, in his words. And man, this guy has got no idea how juicy these pictures are going to end up being. Going to be a lot of juice.
Some of the sexiest pictures I've ever seen.
I've got a story about that, but we'll get there. And I do, again, this is where I really love the musings on the nature of the tunes. So Eddie sees a crate of musical chairs spill outside the window of the studio.
And when I say musical chairs, I mean that literally. It's something you have to understand about tunes. It's like someone said, anything that a human being can imagine either probably has existed or will exist. Yeah, and I can tell you where to. In Toontown. Anyway, each of these characters was both a chair and a musical instrument, and a character. If you see what I mean? Think it's spooky? That's Toons for you. A barrel of laughs, but sometimes spooky too.
Think about that. That is spooky.
Yeah.
That's really spooky.
I'd be pretty scared.
Like, what would you even say to a musical chair? That's the problem with those kind of tunes. Like, I feel like you could hold a conversation with Bugs Bunny or something maybe, but like a musical chair, it's like got one job, well, two jobs. To be sat on and to like play music, but at the same time they're kind of.
But if they were a character and they're kind of like sit on my face, baby, you'd be like no.
That would be quite confronting.
And then as you said no, they'd be like. Bah, bah.
Yeah, I imagine they would be quite lurid.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I don't know how to interpret this. Out in the street, several black dude tunes were greeting each other. "Hey, knee Joe," said a black bear guard at the gate. "Hey, eat a bug," another replied.
I'd interpret it as pretty racist, like borderline racist.
Yeah, N-I, "Hey, knee Joe." Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like what's happening there. And this was... Okay, is this an issue of it being 1987? 88? 1988 or 1947?
That's a good point. Because in the 40s, that stuff was happening.
Yes. You remember those crows in Dumbo?
Yeah.
Crikey. So, I don't know. But what I do like is Eddie. He's such a champion. He rides on the back of a tram and he bums a durry from some like street kids. And just sitting there puffing around, they're passing it around.
That is one of my favourite parts of the movie.
What a bloody legend.
He does not give a shit that they are children.
Not at all. Not at all. I think he gives them his number.
And as an ex-cop, because he's an ex-cop.
Yeah.
He's breaking the law. He's helping children break the law. Yeah. He's smoking cigarettes with... I guess it's the 40s, though.
That's true.
They were, like, smoking like it was mints.
People don't do that thing anymore, like, where kids... get caught smoking and then the adults make them smoke an entire pack. There is a Donald Duck cartoon where he makes Huey, Dewey and Louie smoke and they just look so sick. Like they're all greasy and pale and they've got their eyelids are like hanging out and they're coughing and they're just dying. They're in so much, the cute little ducks in so much pain. And Donald is just fucking pissing himself laughing. He's slapping his thigh and he's got the evil grin. He's just having the time of his life.
That's what I'd be like as a parent.
The only thing I've seen as a modern equivalent, and we talked about this on I think one of the Degrassi episodes or something on Book Was Better TV, but I saw this episode of Degrassi, the new Degrassi. It's one of the early episodes where these two boys who are like 13 get on the computer and look at porn, or they're about to, one of them disables the net filter and everything, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna look at some titties, and they get like their first big pair of titties up. And as they do that, the parents walk in behind. And they're like, what are you doing, boys? So they make them, you don't get to see the scene, they just talk about it afterwards. They make them watch a whole heap of gay porn so that they can see men being objectified and sort of see how they feel about as a man.
That's weird.
So it's like the cigarette thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, one of the kids wasn't their kid. So imagine that when he went back home.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, how was it at Billy's today? And he was like,
Billy's dad made me watch a lot of gay porn with him.
We saw some guys wolfing down some dicks.
Yeah.
We saw some BBCs, let me tell ya. So yeah, crazy.
He's just crying. I don't want to go to Billy's anymore.
I don't want to eat hot dogs. So Eddie hangs out at the terminal station bar where he has a lady friend, Dolores. And she's a human. We have to ask all the time, if a human woman is in a book, I want to know, is she hot?
Dolores was one of those dames you thought you could have seen somewhere else. Maybe in a movie or in a fashion magazine. And then you'd look at her closely and think, maybe not.
I like his writing. He's quite funny.
Yeah.
So maybe not so hot, although...
At first glance, she's quite hot though.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't mind if her makeup was a little too heavy sometimes. Everyone needs some kind of defense. And I had some kind of defense. Yeah, I don't know how to interpret that. And I didn't mind the way her body went in and out in all the right places. That might sound sexist. I actually think, biologically speaking, that's good. That's a good thing. Because you don't want, like, an inverted woman.
Yeah, you don't want a woman whose vagina comes out.
Like a little purse flapping around or something.
Yeah, like a penis.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Or like round hollows in a chest
Yeah,
that you can like put your entire fists in.
that would be scary.
That would be weird. And then Angelo, he's just this like barfly guy. He hangs around the bar. He flies. He gives Eddie shit about his new job. You know, are you working for Toons? Are you working for Chili Willy? That's emasculating. Don't bring up Chili Willy. So Eddie force feeds him an egg,
Yeah,
which is weird.
yeah, because in the movie, that's quite a, like... It's very, like, powerful. I didn't think it could be that powerful.
Well, think about like Bob Hoskins' tiny hairy arms, which are probably as wide as they are long. Just like pounding an egg into this guy's face. That's confronting.
I think what's scary about it is, like... Because before he pounds it in his face, he smashes his head on the bar.
Yeah.
And then he's got him on the bar, and he shoves it in. And you're like, you could do anything in the world to him right now. And you chose to put an egg in his mouth.
And I do love the punchline in this scene. And it's a shame in a way that the book has already given away the setup, because the film is... Like, I don't think until I watched it again as an adult, I didn't appreciate just how brilliantly weird it is. Like, it's so clever and so tongue-in-cheek, and I think as a 12-year-old watching it, I'm just like, oh yeah, you know, like it's cartoons and people, and I just accept it, but it's so off-kilter, and it just gives you these sequences that you've never seen before, and I love this bit. As I walked out, I could hear Angelo saying plaintively through a mouthful of egg, "So what's his problem?"
Toon killed his brother, said Dolores.
"What?" said another drinker. I didn't hear the rest, but I could imagine how it went.
Dropped a piano on his head, Dolores would say.
Which would leave them all speechless. After all, what can you say after a Toon has dropped a piano on your brother's head? So deadpan, like how she does it as well.
Yeah.
It's great.
Like, it's just a fact. It's just something that happened.
And it's creating that world. It's like really taking you into how this world works as opposed to how the real world works. And I think that was the problem, again, to beat up on Enchanted, and this is something that Paris said. You know, the rules didn't quite, like, when someone went into the other world, what influence did they have, how did it work, or whatever, but these Toons, you got to keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
So Eddie goes to the Ink and Paint Club, which is staffed by Toons, but has a very strictly human clientele only, which totally, to me, sounds like a kind of fetish thing.
Oh, it's totally a fetish thing.
And it makes me kind of wonder, like, if there are private rooms or any sort of private dance kind of things happening.
Because Betty Boop's in there.
Yeah.
Sexy.
Yes.
Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah.
Sexy. There's an octopus serving drinks.
Yes.
I mean, this is like a pre-hentai world.
True.
But given what we know about tentacles now in cartoons, some freaky stuff might have been happening.
I think he would be a particularly good value for money.
Oh, yeah.
But they would cater to anything. It would be like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit warm. Can we get Chilly Willy in here? I just want to like nuzzle up to a penguin for a little bit. And the other weird thing is so many things in the toon world are personified. So where do you draw the line? Like, what if Jessica Rabbit was pole dancing, but the pole was a person?
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
it
the
had-
pole probably wouldn't complain.
Like it had the face and voice of Jerry Seinfeld or something like that.
That'd be the scariest pole in the world.
I know, but he's like kind of lanky and skinny, and I think it would be kind of tall.
Yeah.
I think it'd be very interesting. Noble also gets to write Daffy and Donald's epic piano battle and clears up a long-standing internet myth. Now, do you know what I'm referring to here?
No.
Okay, you know how there's all those kind of urban myths and stuff, and there's always those things about subliminal messages and hidden things in Disney and bad things in Disney movies. Like one of the big ones is the claim that sex is written in stars in the sky in The Lion King. Which if you actually look, because they're doing some of their first computer animated stars and stuff, it says SFX, it's special effects, not sex. But people tend to...
Yeah.
So this is the scene as written, which will clear this up, and then I'll explain what the controversy is. Up on the stage, the argument was heating up.
I've worked with a lot of wise quackers, Daffy Duck hissed, but you are despicable.
Doggone stubborn nitwit, Donald muttered. Wouldn't this be good if we knew how to do the voices?
It would.
You got any impressions? Yeah.
That's about it.
I can't do any of them. It was said on the internet a lot, and people debate this. I'm sure if you Googled, you'd find that he doesn't say nitwit. That Daffy is a black duck, and he says
Oh, wow.
another word. And people have claimed that for ages, that that's what Donald says. Well, look at this, watch that scene, etc. He says nitwit, it's here, straight from the
in writing.
script. Come on,
Who else could we believe except for...
for Martin Noble. Well,
His name's Noble.
Yeah.
He's not going to be lying.
and he's got a noble profession.
Exactly.
So-
And he wrote Ewan McGregor's unofficial biography.
I think in order to be published, there has to be truth in there.
Yeah.
You know,
and
like
he's
the
already
Bible.
written that kind of racist thing before.
Yes.
It's not like he's going to shy away from it now.
He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would double down on the racism.
No.
Not this early in the book. And Jessica's sugar daddy, Marvin, is here. Now, Marvin is a human man. He's a guy in his 60s who, they say he owns Toontown. Now, this is where things need some clarifying for me.
Actually, Marvin didn't own Toontown, though he had certainly created it. He'd begun as a magic tricks and gags merchant, going around the fairs, circuses, and carnivals at the beginning of the century. He'd branched into the movies before the war when his tricks and characters had started to turn a very big profit. It was well known that he was still a major shareholder in the Toons.
Okay, so it says that he definitely created it, but it doesn't tell you how. And
Yeah,
that-
it says magic.
So, like, did he have sex with a drawing of a mouse? Do you think, like, that's kind of what happened? And then...
Every drawing he's had to have sex with.
Yeah, so he had sex with a drawing of a mouse. And then he's like, Walt, you got to come in and see this. And Walt's like, I need that thing. Give me, yeah.
Here are some more.
Here's some money.
Here's a duck.
Yeah,
Here's
look, I drew a
dog.
duck. And I've taken the pants off the duck just to make it easier for you. And yeah, I think that's it. Because it says at one point in the book, I don't know if I put the excerpt in, but it says that he has to remember that Jessica was originally drawn, that somebody drew her to begin with.
That's what I always wondered, because they're such real things in the movie.
Yeah.
But someone must have made them.
So, like, that means Marvin must have, like, fucked Yosemite Sam?
Well, it's weird, because then, like, is he their dad?
And he was like, oh, this penguin, ooh, I'm going to call you Chilly Willy.
Because you're making my willy chilly.
Yeah, yeah. And then the bottle of chili was like on the shelf. Was like, what?
He was
somebody.
He was like, oh, no one loves me.
Well, no, but that was a drawing of a bottle of chili.
That's, yeah.
So he would have had to stick his dick in a bottle of chili at one point in order to.
I guess it was worth it for the joke at the beginning.
That's true, and it's a very profitable thing as well. This whole business. So who can blame him? Hey.
He's got some cool stuff as well.
Everybody's trying to make a buck. Heckle and Jekyll at the same time. Tom and Jerry. My God. Crazy. Betty Boop, you mentioned her before. She's the waitress. And I remember this line from when I first owned the book. I really like this bit of writing.
She wiggled her hips.
Boop, boop, de boop, boop.
It was funny, touching, sexy, tragic. Mainly it was tragic.
He's editorializing. I like that. But let's skip to the main event. This is what we've really been waiting for. Now, I don't care if you're male, female, asexual, whatever. I want you to pause, go into an alcove or somewhere if you're out in public, find a little alcove, take off your pants, lather up, and listen to this. Jessica Rabbit appeared. I couldn't see her face. It was still in darkness. But what I could see was that this was no rabbit. It was a toon, sure. But what a toon. She was a shimmering diaphanous vision, a kind of living, translucent Venus. Yes, you could say she was more like a goddess than a cartoon. I'd never seen a body like that before. I didn't know bodies could be shaped like that. I had to keep reminding myself that she'd originally been drawn by someone, that no woman really could have breasts like these. They were astonishing. She was astonishing. Her luminous magenta dress and long silk gloves seemed to have been sprayed on merely to emphasize every contour of her body. I was hypnotized. I looked over at Marvin. He was also hypnotized like everyone else in that club. I was beginning to understand the old fool. Whew. 12 years old. First read this book. Kind of lucky that this isn't my original copy right here. Yeah, Jessica Rabbit. I mean, that was an awakening. That was really something. I don't think I'd ever really been attracted to a cartoon character prior to that. Because, I mean, who was there? I mean, like the Hanna-Barbera, there's some okay Hanna-Barbera
There's like
ones.
the Jetsons.
Yeah. Jane or Judy.
Burr.
Yeah. like my Gilmore Girls fantasy. That's true. And when I was really little, I had a bit of a crush on Miss Piggy. She's blonde, curvy. I thought, yeah.
She's also a pig.
She's a pig, yeah. But I was quite young.
Yeah, no, that's
so, you don't really make that distinction, I suppose. But the thing is, even, looking at a Wilma Flintstone or whatever, she's got, those beady eyes. They're just like black dots. And it's just kind of weird. It's sort of hard to relate to, in a way.
Yeah.
But this was something else. This was...
It's because she does she's doing the dance,
And she's just such an interesting shape. I think the space between her eyes is bigger than her waist. It's just a crazy, crazy shape. And her boobs are like a sofa.
Yeah.
It's like a couch. I think this is a brilliant scene in the film because I think this is one of the first times you really get to see actors just selling the fact that they are interacting with cartoon characters. This Marvin guy, I don't even know who the actor is, but he has got the biggest shit-eating grin, and the way he reacts to her and everything, you really believe the whole gimmick of the movie suddenly, and this illusion happens. And even Bob Hoskins is I'm not interested. I'm interested. So I thought that was really cool. And I also think that this line is probably the funniest in the whole film. I love it where... Eddie goes, she's married to Roger Rabbit, and Betty Boop goes, yeah, what a lucky gal. I think that's so excellent. The just different interpretation of that. And Eddie photographs them playing patty cake. Now, this is really interesting in the book. Actually, let's read the scene as it is in the book.
I took the camera out of my pocket and unfolded it ready. Okay, I know it's sleazy. But if it offends you, you're living in the wrong world.
Oh, not tonight, Marvin, Jessica said a trifle sulkily. I have a headache. I'd seen this movie before.
But Jessica, you promised. Marvin sounded wretched. He really was just a kid.
Oh, all right, she relented.
I quickly pointed the camera through the window and began taking shots.
Yeah, so this ends with, it's just the ooh, Marvin, etc., just down the page. Afterwards, Roger's looking at the pictures and going, oh, patty cake, and Eddie's like, okay, so I took some dirty pictures and stuff. Of course, when you're reading the book, you don't get to see the pictures, and I hadn't seen the movie at this point. Now, I'm a kid that grew up on films like Porky's and Revenge of the Nerds and stuff like that. I had seen just probably Fritz the Cat, all sorts of sexy comedy kind of things. I was convinced reading this book, 12 years old, that this guy was banging a cartoon.
Yeah.
And I was like, how are they doing that? Was this poor, guy just, humping the air and then they drew it underneath? Or, what am I going to be seeing here? Because,
how would you do that?
Because I was convinced, this is for adults. This is an adult thing.
Yeah.
This is, So I used to think Garfield was for adults when I was really little because I'd see him and he had the half lids and the smile. And I think I'd read so many, Playboys and seen all the Playboy cartoons. I thought there was something smutty about Garfield's, face. I was like, yeah, this cat... He knows some stuff. He's going to tell some dirty jokes. So, yeah, I was like, oh, this is adult stuff. And I did. I thought this patty cake was clearly a euphemism.
It's definitely, when you watch the movie, you think that.
I guess,
it's definitely, hinted towards its sex.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. And I think that that's, again, seeing as an adult, you go... Yeah, of course that's what they want you to think. It's that whole setup. And then there's the whole reveal joke of... seeing these photos move like animation and seeing them actually playing patty cake, which is ridiculous. But again, as a 12-year-old, I'm not processing it like that. I just sort of taken it all for granted. And I love this scene in the film as well when they're in that beautiful 40s studio. Roger's absolutely distraught at his wife's indiscretion. And the book really just does the dialogue here, though I do think that Noble does a good job at, he describes all the toon antics, like when Roger drinks the alcohol and he turns into a steam whistle and all that sort of stuff. And then, this is the problem when you do first-person narration from someone like Eddie, because Eddie's not there the whole time. Suddenly Roger's off by himself, walking down an alley, so the book just kind of goes, oh, we'll change paragraphs and do that in italics, because Eddie wasn't there, and it becomes this omniscient narrator again.
For once in his toon life, Roger Rabbit had no way of cheering himself up. Humor was the lifeblood of every toon, and he badly needed a transfusion.
That's deep.
Yeah.
I really like that. Come on, Heckle. Come on, Jekyll. Hook me up. I need a transfusion of comedy. And blood. And the cops arrive in the morning. Marvin has been murdered at the gag factory, and Roger is the suspect. And again, I like this continued weirdness, spookiness about Toontown. There was this wall that separated the gag factory from Toontown, and if you look closely, you'd see some strange things. If you'd been drinking, you could convince yourself you had a case of the DTs. If you were sober, you might wonder about your sanity. Something there seemed to be a thin line between fun and madness. It's like Lovecraftian, what he's weaving here.
Yeah.
And our villain interrupts the investigation. Now, I've always felt that Judge Judy was scary. But Judge Doom, whew.
Reeling from the shock, I looked up from the skull-shaped handle of the cane to its owner, a rail-thin, gaunt giant of a man in a long black cape, black hat, black bow tie, and an old-fashioned wing collar. From where I was crouching, he looked like some sort of walking angel of death, a skeleton with a chalky white, cadaverous face and long pointed chin, who towered above everyone, and though I couldn't see his eyes, he wore dark glasses. I felt pinned down by his stare.
Did you meet Christopher Lloyd when he was here?
No. I saw him sitting at a table and there was no one in the line.
Yeah.
And I was like, I should go talk to him because I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
But I didn't because I didn't want to pay money to meet him.
We weren't going to, and then it was right at the very end of the con, and because we had a stall there, and we saw him sitting by himself, and he actually had lines quite a lot before that, and we were like, we need to buy DeLoreans and get him to sign them. And he didn't say a word to us. And he's deaf. And he didn't even really look at us till right at the end. He just looked at the DeLorean, kind of pondered it, wrote on it. But then when he looked up, and I mean, he's an old dude now. Yeah, you saw that look in his eyes. That kind of... The look of death, yeah. And I went home feeling really depressed about my mortality, and I put the DeLorean out on the verge. No, he was like that Doc Brown. You could see that in the face of death with these bright young alive eyes.
It's pretty cool,
and it was amazing. Can't see his eyes in this film, so that's kind of a stupid story contextually. But there you go. And this prick murders a shoe. The shoe, this is a cartoon shoe with a little face.
That is a character.
It's a character, sure is. The shoe touched the top of the bubbling mixture. Billows of smoke and noxious fumes began to rise from the barrel as the shoe started to melt. Doom grinned and dunked the shoe completely into the dip. Okay, It was only a toon, and just a shoe at that, but I was horrified. What I was seeing was nothing like pest control or state execution, not even your average murder. It was an act of pure evil, and I think it was the ghastly smile of satisfaction on Doom's face as the shoe dissolved, still squealing pitifully, that got to me. Who did not have their heart just go out for that poor shoe?
It's a pretty scary scene, because the shoe's, like, you see it running around before, it's happy. It's a happy shoe, and then it's got those eyes.
Yeah.
Those sad eyes
Sad,
of someone who
plaintive
knows
eyes.
they're being boiled to death.
And as well, like, prior to that, you're like, oh, you can drop a fridge on them, you can do all these things, it's fine, they're toons, they're like Tiggers, they're made out of rubber and springs.
Yeah.
But then, turns out, no, these guys can be wiped out.
Yeah.
And that's
With bubbling green.
bubbling green
water.
dip. It must be like, it must have avocado
Yeah.
in it.
It's probably some kind of rank guacamole.
I'd say so. The rankest. Then Eddie objectifies a blonde.
The blonde had a shapely ass, which was what I noticed first, because it was pointed straight at me as she bent over a baby carriage. I checked out her legs, which is one of my hobbies, especially when they go on forever like these did.
You know, I collect stamps. And she's with Baby Herman, this blonde woman with the shapely ass, who claims that Roger is innocent. He tells Eddie, you got to protect Roger. Roger's innocent. And then he talks about his dick.
He slipped a cigar back in his mouth and looked disgusted. My problem is I got a 50-year-old lust and a 3-year-old dinky. He pointed at his groin. I glanced down at him sympathetically.
Apparently that's the only line that is taken from the original book.
Really?
Yeah, although I was going to say Pee Wee Herman. Baby Herman in the book is 36 years old.
He seems a lot older in the movie.
He's older in the movie, yeah.
I love it, though. I love that idea of, like... He's basically Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
This is how Benjamin Button could have ended.
With him, like, just sitting in a baby carriage, complaining about his tiny penis.
Yes, Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett.
Sexy
Magnificent
Kate Blanchett.
ass.
Yeah.
And it'd be 3D these days as well, so
Yeah.
it would just poke out, and you'd need a moist towelette afterwards. So Eddie discovers Roger in his bed. Not in a sexy way either. Roger won't leave. He basically wants Eddie's help. I don't get... Explain this to me. I've never understood this joke, and I think about it, and every time I think about it, I don't get it. You know how he wrote the poem to Jessica, and he goes, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. And then he goes, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Okay,
Like, you're just counting.
Yeah, if anybody gets it,
I guess
let us know.
if you're like, let me count the ways I love you. 1, you got giant breasts. 2,
Yes,
your eyes
Your other breasts.
are wider apart than
in
your
your
waist.
waist.
3,
Spray painted dress.
yeah. Like, if he was counting that and, like, listing things off, that would make sense.
Yeah. So if anyone understands that, let us know on the Facebook page. Eddie has to hide Roger from Doom's weasels. Doom has 4 weasels, and the leader of them is called Smartass. And this is such a great scene as well in the film because he's holding an actual prop revolver, even though he's a cartoon. How did they do that back in 1988?
They do it, like, when Jessica's dancing, she pulls
Yeah.
Maroon's handkerchief
Yeah.
out of his pocket and rubs it over his head.
Ghosts, probably.
Maybe real tunes.
I reckon Spielberg said, round up all those ghosts, put them back in the Ark, because one day I'm going to get Touchstone and we're going to do this thing. He poked the gun barrel in my cheek, so I was forced to lean back. So cut the bullshtick, he snapped. This is another reason I thought this is such an adult book. I wasn't going to be threatened by a toon weasel. I pulled out a bar of soap from the water. So yeah, not taking any shit from Smart. Again, he was called Smartass as well, and I was like,
Yeah.
whoa!
To be fair, he's being a bit of a smart ass.
I was like, cartoons aren't for kids anymore. And the book film is definitely very groin-centric, if you haven't picked that up already. Now Eddie goes to the bar with Roger bulging out of the bottom of his trench coat. It's that whole, is that a rabbit in your pocket or a giant erection sequence. And I haven't put a lot of excerpts about Roger because mostly it's dialogue and stuff, but I did feel like he is pretty rad. Like, you read these descriptions of him, and he's like an agent of pure chaos.
Dolores eyed the rabbit dubiously. He's not going to do anything crazy, is he? At the moment, he was running a large metal file back forth through his ears and making ludicrous faces.
He's pretty fun.
That's a great scene in the movie as well. Because that's when they're handcuffed together.
And
And
he
Eddie's,
takes-
like, really trying to, like, cut it off. And Roger just slips out to, like, hold the table. He's like, you could have done that before. Why didn't you do it? And Roger's like, I could only do it when it was funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. It's such a good character.
It's a good script. Okay, now this next bit troubles me, Zach. We're going to get to the bottom of this. Eddie takes a massive shit, and Jessica comes over to his apartment, and she still looked like $1 million, and her timing was perfect. She arrived at my office as I was coming out of the John, holding a pair of pants up around my waist and with a necktie around my bare chest. You might remember this visual. You watched the film recently.
Yeah.
He's a hairy dude.
He is a very hairy dude.
Kind of looks like a gorilla or something.
He does look like a gorilla.
Okay, so why does Eddie Valiant take his shirt off to shit?
I think it's that George Costanza thing.
Does George take his shirt off to shit?
Pretty sure George takes his shirt off in Seinfeld to shit.
But does he leave a tie on? Because that's the other weird thing here.
I think so.
Like, he keeps his tie on, and your tie goes on over your shirt.
Yeah. Like, the
So-
tie's the worst part as well.
Yeah, so to get your shirt off and still have your tie on, that's like when girls take their bra off while they're still wearing a shirt. Gotta be.
Yeah. Unless, like, he wasn't doing a shit.
I think he was doing a shit. Because he's pulling his pants up, he's doing the belt up.
Yeah, but it could have been a little bit of, like, oral asphyxiation.
You think-
Like, he's taken his pants off. He's thought about Jessica Rabbit.
Okay.
He's
So-
pulled on the tie a little bit.
You have like autoerotic. Yes. So he might have been hanging in a wardrobe and he heard a knock at the door and went, oh, and unhooked himself, did up his pants, and I think you've nailed it. I think that has to be it. Because I was thinking, like, maybe like he gets just really hot and sweaty when he's like doing a shit. And he takes it off, and then he's about to take the tie off, and then he's like, I can mop my brow with this. So he keeps it on. But yeah.
That could be it. That's a pretty valid reason as well.
I think yeah.
Maybe he'd taken his shirt off because it was too hot,
Yeah.
realized he had no toilet paper,
Yes.
thought, hey, might as well leave the tie on, then I have something to wipe with at the end.
Or he could have used the shirt.
That's it, yeah, I probably used the shirt.
It's a mystery. We need more listener participation. So, do you take your shirt off when you shit? Tell us on the Facebook page. We'd love to hear about it. Look, forget the plot at this point. I mean, this is the most important part now, right?
Her breasts were swaying back and forth, but God's my witness, the rest of her wasn't moving.
I read, like, did you see that on the trivia page? There's this thing about how they animated the breasts to go in the opposite. So where breasts would normally swing up, they swung down, and vice versa. And it was to create this kind of unusual draw your eyes to the movement. Weird.
It worked.
But I kind of wonder. I'm thinking 1988. Did my interest in huge breasts begin, like, right here watching Roger Rabbit? Because I can't think, like, Miss Piggy's not very busty.
No.
I'm thinking, like, I can't think of, like, a big breast example prior to that would have made me think, yeah, this is something I'm kind of interested in. I can't think of a character or an actress or anything that would have made me go, yeah, that, especially of, you know, we're talking about a certain size here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's something that's kind of pushing beyond just, oh, this is someone who's, you know, they're not like, you know, they're further down the alphabet is what I'm saying.
Like
So,
a K. Like
Yeah.
a K or an L.
yeah, maybe even an M, as in, So, and I like the line as well, because Dolores bursts in on them and says, dabbling in watercolors, Eddie. Fantastic. So dirty. And Eddie goes back to the bar, where Roger, who's supposed to be hiding, to be fair, is entertaining the crowd and just being a total crazy bastard. And Doom busts in, he tries to execute Roger, but Roger drinks booze and goes even more nuts and escapes. And I thought, is this where my interest, like 1988, my interest in drinking booze and going nuts began as well?
This movie has shaped you in ways
Yeah.
you have not even noticed.
Yeah, you should see the way the shape that it shaped me into as well. It's crazy. And they escape in...
Benny! If you haven't guessed, turned out to be a Toon taxi cab. A yellow affair with a voice like a cab's hooter and a personality to match. Just tried taking a cab down Broadway in the rush hour. Crank up the pressure a few million times, and that was Benny. I'd thought the rabbit was hyper, but the cab was a tune beyond even Marvin's wildest imaginings. The simplest way to describe him was a manic depressive, but without the depressive bit.
These tunes are fucking bonkers. And then I thought, well, that's a good tagline for the poster. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? And then across the bottom it says, these tunes are fucking bonkers. Or you'd be just like, can we see the Bonkers Tune movie, Dad? Because that sounds awesome.
Mum, it's fucking bonkers, Mum. And she'd be like, you're 12 years old. Stop swearing in my house.
What if that was like one of the rating criteria? It was like PG, suggestive themes, fucking bonkers tunes. I like this bit. Benny, if you hadn't guessed, turned out to be a tune taxi cab. I feel like that's another opportunity to maybe get more listener interaction. Like, so if you guessed Benny, hashtag guessed it to, yeah.
It's a bit of a leap, right?
Yeah.
All you know is that his name is Benny.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear Benny and I'm like, oh, that's got to be a talking taxi. At least they made him like the New York stereotype and not the like Middle Eastern stereotype.
That's
which
true.
is in every other movie with a taxi in New York. Or this isn't New York, this is Hollywood, this is LA. And then there's all this stuff about Marvin's will, and Eddie confronts Maroon, who pulls a gun on him, and Eddie sprays him in the face with water. Now, this book does not have a photo section. Real missed opportunity, because the great photos would come out of this thing. Instead, on the inside covers, there are 4 black and white photos. So 2 in the front, 2 in the back. And these 4 pictures, you imagine all the things they could have put in these pictures. They put Eddie squirting the guy in the face with water. It doesn't even have a cartoon character in it.
No. Why?
Nonsense. That could have been Jessica Rabbit right there. But no. So yeah, we get a dick bag taking a squirt to the face. And then Maroon gets shot by a mystery man or woman or shoe. And then I was thinking, God, what if the other shoe in the pair turned out to be the killer?
I
like he
love that.
took revenge.
Like,
yeah.
no, Benny!
Or even like at the end, because the third act isn't that great. What if like Hoskins was about to be defeated and then that other shoe from the pair like came in and got revenge for
It was
his
on
brother.
his foot, he just hadn't noticed.
Yeah, and
It
it
had, like,
started
taken
kicking
the
him in the
place.
face, and it was going, "Stop kicking yourself! Stop kicking yourself!" That would be so good. You should see the wild gestures I'm doing right now. It helps me talk. He lay across the moviola, his tie caught up in the mechanism. If he'd been a tune, he'd have got up and danced. But he wasn't, and he didn't. He was very, very dead. I think sometimes authors spend too much time telling us what did happen.
Yeah.
I sometimes would like to read a list of things that definitely did not happen.
He did not
Yeah,
eat a burger.
did not do any of those things. Jessica, she's knocked out Roger and she's fled. So Eddie's got no choice but to enter the dreaded Toontown through the exact same tunnel that was used in the Back to the Future movies.
Really?
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
And he's also brandishing the most awesome cartoon gun.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that the best weapon? That's
All
like,
the personalized bullets.
yeah, they've all got different personalities.
Yeah.
And Yosemite Sam gave him the gun for completing a job for him.
It's amazing.
I think that's got to be up there with the best movie weapons of all time. But it gets forgotten. You never hear it mentioned.
If you haven't been to Toontown, maybe I can describe it like this. Imagine you're in bed.
Got it.
It's a pitch dark night, and though your eyes are open, you can't see a thing.
No.
You lie there and you're not sure whether you're awake or asleep. Then suddenly you think, I must be asleep. Because otherwise, why am I dreaming in Technicolor and not just Technocolor, but cartoon color? You're inside a cartoon landscape where there are no grays, no shades, no soft edges. You're inside an animated movie, and that's Toontown. And there's one other thing. In Hollywood, the toons have to do what the humans tell them. But in Toontown, the toons make up the laws of nature as they go along.
Yep, that definitely clears it up. Toontown, population fucking bonkers, is what the sign says. It says there's no greys.
Dumbo.
Bugs Bunny.
This guy's a twat.
Come on, Martin Noble. Watch the film.
Probably watched it through a window.
Maybe
That
he did.
was it.
He was like, can I come down to the set? I think it would help me a little bit. And they were like, nope. He's like, okay. Are there any bushes near where you're filming? You're not going to be using that tunnel that you used in Back to the Future, are you? Because I know some good bushes in that area, let me tell you. There are singing trees in Toontown, and this creepy stuff.
There were hordes of baby Mickey Mouses, gophers, rabbits, and flying cupids, and they all sang along. Smile, Don, you smile.
Nightmarish. I think you can't just throw that away out there with no explanation. There were hordes of baby Mickey Mouses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does Minnie know about this?
I think maybe, what was his name? Maroon?
Maroon.
Really enjoyed having sex with Mickey Mouse.
Well, this is his first picture.
He just got a photocopier.
Yeah.
And then that was his nights.
And he had sex with that drawing on a steamboat.
Yeah.
The very first
It's
time.
very bouncy.
And he whistled when he came. Eddie is hit on by a hideous hyena woman, which is the worst possible thing that can happen to a man.
Unless it was like Whoopi Goldberg from The Lion King.
That's true.
Because while she might be a hyena, she would be fun to have dinner with.
Yeah, I'd agree with
Like,
that.
you'd have a good laugh.
You know when people say, like, which 3 celebrities would you like to have dinner with if you could have dinner with anyone?
Oh, yeah.
I always pick that hyena in there.
Really?
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah. But though I am worried that it would just kind of sit at the edge of the room and watch us eat,
Yeah.
and then, like, kind of come in afterwards when we were taking dishes back to the kitchen. And I'll come back and go, oh, look, you didn't have to wait.
I like to think that once you get her away from the other hyenas, she's quite sophisticated.
Yeah, I'd say so.
She's quite a nice lady. None of that, like, sinister. It's more of like a ha ha ha.
Yeah, very cultivated. Well,
Yeah.
that's the other thing that is unclear in this film, and that's a good call, because Baby Herman clearly has an on-screen persona and an off-screen persona, but he seems to be the only one that has that. All the other characters, when you meet them,
100%.
seem to be just like they are in the movies. What's that about?
Yeah.
It's one or the other. Can't be Eric. Like,
Like, maybe I want Mickey to go home and...
yeah, I want that too. Always wanted that. No, that's horrible. What a horrible
There is
thing to
other
say.
stuff happening, though.
You know, Mickey got, like, you know, there's that, like, old cartoon strip, the old Mickey Mouse comic strip where he tried to commit suicide.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's the most personality he's ever had, because that's the thing about Mickey Mouse. You think about him, he's this, like, cultural icon, recognized globally. And, like, what's his personality? What's Mickey Mouse like as a character?
He's always late. I know that. He struggles to be on time.
Is that true?
Well, every cartoon I've seen, because I really like the new Mickey Mouse cartoons. Have you seen those?
No, I haven't.
They're pretty cool. But the few that I have seen, it's him trying to get somewhere on time because Minnie's gonna be there.
Does he have,
Or like he's running late for a date.
Does he have, like, a phone?
I don't know. He probably could. I think he does. Yeah.
We should just use that.
Yeah. Just be like, I'm sorry, I'm running late.
Yeah. Text her.
Don't be angry or I'll beat you.
Yeah, I'm gonna beat you so much when I. Well, yeah, no. Have you seen the newish, like, Looney Tunes cartoons, the Warner Brothers ones with and, like, Kristen Wiig is Lola Bunny.
Really?
Yeah, and she's not as sexualized.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, as she's in the movie.
That is the other
cartoon character.
cartoon
Look.
rabbit.
Hashtag no furry. But yeah, there's something about. I think once it was pointed out recently that Lola Bunny looks like Natalie Dormer. That was
Oh,
all
yeah.
I could see.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, yeah, I'm kind of into that. Eddie was hit on by a hideous hyena woman. Do you
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that? We were talking about that this morning over breakfast.
Yeah. It's been a while.
It's now 11:15 p.m. As I turned away from the door to catch my breath, I noticed the shattered remains of a bathroom wall next to the door. Graffiti was scribbled next to the towel dispenser. For a good time, called Alison Wonderland. The best is yet to be. Toon prostitution.
That's amazing.
Toon bathrooms. Do toon shit with their shirts on or off?
I'd go down that rabbit hole.
All my questions right here. Yeah, it's 1-800-EAT-ME. If there ever was any doubt as well, Tweety Bird, boy or girl?
I would say go.
I've always thought boy, because Mel Blanc. Is it Mel Blanc? Yeah, Mel Blanc, the voice. It's a pretty
Is it
boyish
guy?
voice. Yeah. I didn't think it's a particularly feminine voice.
I just always assumed it was a girl because he's got the bow, right? He's got like a little bow in his hair sometimes. Am I making
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I was little, I had a dog,
Yeah.
and we would take him to go get his haircut.
Yeah.
And every time the lady would bring him out, and he'd have a pink bow in his hair, and she would say, "She's been such a good girl."
That must have been infuriating.
It was very embarrassing
For the dog?
for the dog.
Yeah.
He would cry.
Yeah.
I'd rip the bow out. I'd say,
Throw
"He's
it
a
on the floor.
goddamn man."
I'm not paying for this.
But because of that, every time I saw Tweety with a bow, I'd be like, oh, it's a go. Anything with a bow, I assume is a go.
What about a bow tie? Well, like in a tuxedo?
Yeah.
Okay. That's going to make the Oscars really weird this year. So, the bird steps on my hand. Oh, look, piggies, she tweeted.
Hi, Tweety. I greeted her dourly.
Yeah. Oh, look, piggies. That's under 146 characters. Because she tweeted it.
Clever.
That's why this show has the listenership it does. So after reuniting with Jessica, she lets Eddie know that Doom was the killer all along. That's fair enough. But come on, Martin Noble, what do her breasts think? Drop the ball there. That's all he talked about in all their other appearances. Now I can't even follow what's going on. Oh, I do think that maybe, we haven't had this on the show for a little bit, this is Eddie and Jessica in this scene. Is this a bit of out of context comedy corner, perhaps?
So we stood there tugging at each other for another few minutes, and I was just wondering whether we might try something a bit more intimate than tugging when who should turn up but Benny. That fucking taxi.
Do you reckon, like, when Marvin had sex with the picture of Benny, he put it in his exhaust pipe, like Eddie Murphy with the banana in Beverly Hills Cop?
I feel like whatever he did, he regretted it. Like, pretty soon after.
Oh, wouldn't that be like a sad life, though? Like, he keeps having sex with all these pictures and then he just regrets it instantly. He's like, I'm not going to do that again. I'm never going to do that again. But then 4 weasels suddenly turn up on his desk and he's off to the races. So, speaking of the weasels, Eddie and Jessica, they're captured by the weasels. They're tied up in the gag factory for the big climax of the film. And speaking of climaxes, I do love the booby trap joke.
Me too.
Classic, where she's got a bear trap in her cleavage. And lots of expository dialogue here. Can you remember Doom's plot?
Yeah. He wants to completely destroy Toontown, not to make a freeway, but to make an off-ramp of a freeway so that he can set up businesses along it.
And is he a self-loathing Toon? Because spoilers... Yeah, don't you reckon, like, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. Great gimmick, great visuals, great script, great characters. And then it's like, gets towards the end and it's like, oh, it's about a freeway. It's like a freeway plot.
Yeah. It's one of the weirder plots.
That's weirder than, like...
It's fucking bonkers.
Now I'm sold. That's true. It is fucking bonkers. Doom, you are fucking bonkers. I wish when I'd met Christopher Lloyd, that's what I said. I wish I just said, Christopher Lloyd, let me tell you something. You, my friend, are fucking bonkers.
And he'd have been like, I'm sorry, did you say something?
What? Eddie tries to defeat the weasels with laughter.
Meanwhile, I was trying out a few reverse handsprings. That's something I hadn't done since the LAPD Police Academy days, but I found I could do them perfectly.
To be fair, Police Academy was hilarious, so why not bring out some of those moves? And the weasels literally die laughing.
The lamp stops barking and I let go, falling to the floor, which was enough to finish Stupid off. Lying on the floor, he expired, his body stiffening. A Toon Lily appeared on his hands, and then his Toon Ghost rose into the air, while the Calliope
I think.
Calliope began playing funeral organ music.
I'm not sure, though. Apparently that avocado dip is not the only way to kill a Toon, after all.
You
So
can
now,
laugh them to death.
yeah,
They make a point of, like, it comes up a few times, how important comedy is in this movie.
Doom foreshadows this like a billion times. Like, I think because they realize the audience would be like, "What?" So there's so many times he's like, "You'll die laughing like your idiot cousin's hyenas." He says the hyenas.
Yeah.
From The Lion King. Wasn't gonna even come out for another like 50 years.
Yeah, but he knew. He's a visionary.
Well,
That's why he thought they needed a freeway.
he didn't invent a time machine.
That's true.
Doom is flattened by a steamroller, one of the best steamroller scenes since Fish Called Wanda, but then reveals his true nature.
His flat hand turned on the pump, and his other hand began to inflate. Then his feet inflated and righted themselves. He pumped air into his mouth, his hat and chest expanded, until his hat flew off his head. His glass eyes fell onto the floor by his feet. Finally, he turned around and looked at me. I gasped. His eyes were the bulging red cartoon eyes of a demented lunatic. Remember me, Eddie? He began walking towards me. When I killed your brother? I talked. His voice rose into a piercing, high-pitched screech. Just like this!
I love that. That's the best thing. Oh, God. I hope that at some point in his life, Christopher Lloyd was having sexy times, and he went, do you love it when I talk like this?
I would do it all the time.
Yeah.
My partners would leave me very quickly.
But he gets sprayed by the dip. In no time at all, he had disappeared forever, melting completely back into the foul miasma that had been created by the warped hand and brain of a tune gone wrong. Who says novelizations aren't serious literature? Foul miasma. I fucking love it. So yeah, the good guys win. Everything's happy. And let's read the ending. I didn't read it beforehand. This is quite small text, so I'm just going to read it here. I wasn't smiling. In fact, I glared at him. He swallowed hard. Don't tell me you lost your sense of humor already. I took a deep breath, grimacing, and reached for the rabbit. Grabbing him by the neck, he began to choke. Does this answer your question? I said, and then I choked the life out of him. The end. I said, and then I grinned, and I gave him a big wet kiss on the lips. Oh, please, he spluttered in a muffled voice, trying to pull away. Then, blah, he spat as he managed to release himself. Sweet release. The toons all cheered, jumping up and down with joy. Jessica was looking broody. She picked up the rabbit and said huskily, come on, Roger, let's go home. Then she gave him a sultry look with half-closed eyes. I'll bake you a carrot cake. Euphemism.
Yeah.
Roger Rabbit went all pink and chuckled as Jessica put him back down on the floor. Then singing Smile Darn Smile along with the other tunes, they took the hole-in-the-wall route back to Toontown. It's like the gag factory. That's why they called it the gag factory, because of the big glory hole in the wall. As for Dolores and me, well, I didn't figure we'd get far in the Ford, so when Benny flashed his headlights and said, so valiant you call a cab or what? I considered the proposal and looked at Dolores. Thanks, Benny, she said, but we'll take a rain check. Eddie and I need a walk. The Toon cab grinned and winked his headlight. No sweat.
Benny's probably pretty angry.
But not sweaty. Because Benny doesn't take his shirt off when he shits.
He knew they were going to have sex.
In the back of his car.
And he was like, get in the back, guys.
Get in the back. No, thanks. And he said, no sweat on my back seat this time. Wow, so there we go. That was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the novelization by Martin Noble. And I have to ask you, Zach, because I always do, was the book better?
I really like the book, but I have a soft spot for the movie.
The movie's amazing. It's so visual. Like, it's a gimmick that is just astounding. Jessica, everybody looks amazing. Like, it has to be a visual thing.
Yeah.
So, look, it's not a bad book as far as books go. Actually, I was surprised. So, yeah, 2 votes for the movie. I was surprised that, novelizations often have scenes that were in the script or were shot but were cut out of the final cut. This doesn't have any of the infamous Roger Rabbit deleted scenes, which were fully animated and cut quite late, including the, the pig scene?
No, I haven't watched any deleted scenes.
There's a pig scene where, I think Eddie goes back to the Ink and Paint Club to investigate, and I think he gets knocked out by the gorilla or something, and when he wakes up, he gets dumped out of a car onto the road. I'm remembering this from many, many years ago, so I'm probably getting stuff wrong. So don't, clench your fists or get upset about it if you know this really well. But he has a big cartoon pig head painted over his head with just his face showing, and he has to, go and wash it off in the shower with, a dip kind of thing. He looks in the mirror and he's like, I'm a pig! And it's all crazy. And that is on the Blu-ray, I believe.
Maybe that's why he has his shirt off.
I actually
think that doesn't make sense.
I think you're right. I think it is I think that is where it fits in. I think he's come out after the shower and he's getting dressed again when Jessica comes in because he has just washed off the pig head. And I think
that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think maybe something happens like the pig face, you see it melting down the drain and then the eyeballs are the last thing to go down or something.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's kind of freaky. But no pig scene. This book is pretty much just exactly the film. It's the story of a man, a woman, and a rabbit in a triangle of trouble. Which woman do you think? Is that Dolores or Jessica?
I feel like it's Jessica.
Because she's got a bigger triangle of trouble?
She has bigger boobs, definitely.
True. Okay, now, look, not much here on Amazon. Just one, in fact. This is the reviews. See what you think of this. 1 star out of 5.
I love this review.
Disappointed is the title. The book arrived very dirty. We had to throw it away. It was as if it came out of a dumpster. So, yeah. Not the experience they were hoping for at all. Dirty, dirty book, this one. And I like this one. Liliana rated this on Goodreads. And I've said before, Goodreads is the Wild West. You can do whatever you want out there. She looks like this cool sort of urban teenager. She's like pretty rad looking.
Yeah.
And she says, old school, moms put me on. It was cool. And I'm like, that's a review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to describe it to people.
And why mince words when like 10 words says everything
You could tweet that.
you ever need to say about Roger? You could. Hear that, Tweety Bird? Haha, talking to you.
I like the dirty one, though, because I can't tell if, like, she started reading it and she was like, this is filth, I don't want to read this. Or if it came to our house and the front of the book was dirty.
Just covered in filth.
And
Maybe
she
it
just
was
threw it out
It was
straight
my
away.
original copy. It made its way there, and she was just like, shit. You could clone someone with this book. Crazy. Dirty book. All the pages were glued together. Not happy, Amazon. You'd think that a book about Jessica Rabbit would be sent from Amazon. I'm going to stop now.
It could come
It's
from
not working.
any porn book website. Touch wood.
Touch wood pictures. Stephen, penis face. So, yeah. That was Roger Rabbit. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. Listen to our other shows. Why not? Fruitlesspursuits.com. That's where you got to go. That's your one-stop shop. It'll give you links to the Facebook group, the Facebook page. Like the page. Rate and review us on iTunes. If you're a super fan, support us on Patreon. You'll get the Were They Were Go-Go episode that we did recently. We'll be doing another Book Was Better TV at some point soon, which will probably be Buffy, I think, we're going to be doing next. At the request of Mr. Kenny. So we always want your feedback. Always really glad to hear from everyone. The community is really great. Did you see what somebody... I don't know if you came here from work. I don't know if you've been on the social media. Did you see what somebody sent me today?
Oh,
I got an anonymous gift from the USA. It is a bag of candy dicks. And it's got just a simple note in that says, eat a bag of dicks. So I'm going to get to the bottom of which one of you dicks sent me the dicks. But thank you for the dicks.
Did you read any?
No, I haven't, because I'm actually... Remember when when Callum and I drank all that whiskey?
Yeah.
That was like a turning point for me. I was like...
You're like, damn, I love whiskey.
I was like, yeah, I gotta drink this every day because it gives me such a buzz, and took the pain away and numbed the pain. No, I thought I'm 40 this year. I've got to like not drink whiskey, and I ate a lot of food that night as well. So since then, it's been 2 weeks. Look, I have had drinks. I've had wine and stuff, but I have been eating healthily.
It's pretty good.
I've been walking to and from work, so I'm doing 6K a day, and I've only been eating good things, and I'm hoping that, within about a couple of months I'll be fitting into some shirts that I wasn't fitting into. So, long story short, I can't be wolfing down dicks
Dicks
just
contain calories.
around the clock. Yeah, these are some pretty thick dicks.
Thicker the dick.
Yeah. I mean...
Moment on the lips.
I know. Yes. Yes. So I was like, yeah. I mean, I could maybe just have the tip of one or something, space it out
just the
or
tip.
whatever, but I don't know. So I think I'm going to share around the dicks. I think Jacinta straight away was like, save a dick for me.
I mean,
she's like,
if
I'll
you have
a
the
dick.
opportunity to put dicks in your friends' mouths, you might as well take it.
If there's a dick there, jump on it.
It doesn't come every day.
I say, no, absolutely not. Grab hold of it and don't let go. So, thanks for the dicks, everybody. Luckily, they didn't arrive Friday, right? After euthanizing my cat, I would have gone to the mail and
Just gone to town on
eat
those
a
dicks.
bag of dicks, and I would have been like, that's insensitive. No, I probably would have put a smile on this little fella's dial. But at the moment, they're just looking at dicks, not eating dicks.
It's probably the best way.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trying to lose weight. If you're not trying to lose weight,
then
All
God,
the dicks you can take.
see how many. Look, 2 weeks ago, if I'd had them when we drank that whiskey,
I had 3 or 4 dicks.
I
in
would
my
have seen
mouth.
how many dicks I could put in my mouth at once. I think
Yeah.
that would have been fantastic, but not at the moment. You know, one of the new things as well is that a friend of the show, Ian, has been uploading the episodes to YouTube, which was something we'd sort of talked about in the hope of getting us more exposure and stuff. And he's also been, so look out for that. Go to the Fruitless Pursuits YouTube channel. You can subscribe or give us a like or something to give us a hand there. But he also has done little edits of things like my unified ray theory from FPcast. So little edits, highlights to entice people. Don't do a little like highlight clip of me talking about eating dicks without any context.
Just every time you've mentioned dick for the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's a lot of dicks. All right. Well,
There's the thing I say, right?
you got to say the thing. Do you remember the thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Catch you on the flips.
Dick Manji.